It's time once again for the Presbytery of West Virginia to meet and discern where God is calling us in ministry and mission. I'm Susan Sharp Campbell, Associate for Educational Ministry for the Presbytery, and this is an orientation to an overview of the work we will be about at our winter stated meeting on Thursday, February 20th, a meeting which will be held using Zoom. In this video, I'll be walking through the advance packet and docket for the meeting, which was emailed on Monday, February 10th to all who are on our newsletter mailing list, or it can be found at www.pwvpresbytery.org. I would encourage you to download the packet now if you haven't already done so, in order that you can follow along as I walk through it. Please note, it is a very, very long packet, and you do not need to print it. There's also a supplemental packet related to the examination of a candidate for ordination that was sent on Thursday, February 13th. It includes a recommendation from the Vocations Committee and information regarding approval of terms of call by the Committee on Ministry. You will also find in that supplemental packet the service we will use as we commission pastors as part of the Committee on Ministry report in the afternoon. I would encourage you to read through all of these documents in advance of the meeting on the 20th so that you will come informed and ready. However, we believe that when we gather in councils of the church such as this meeting, God's Spirit moves among us in the deliberations to help us discern where God is leading us. So don't make up your mind before you come or on your way. Don't think about how you're going to vote based just on the words on a page. Become open to hearing the discussion and responses and being fully involved in the process, trusting the Spirit. If you have not yet registered for the meeting, please do so by calling 304-744-7634 or by emailing office@wvpresbytery.org or by going to the website where you will also find it. Please note that you must be registered for this meeting in order to receive the Zoom link to join. To join the meeting on the 20th, click on that Zoom link that will be sent in advance. The meeting will begin at 9:30 a.m., but you're able to join beginning at 9 a.m. Once you join, please be sure that it's your name on the screen. This helps those taking attendance know that you're there. If there are more than one of you using the same screen, please put their name up as well. If you're using a phone and unable to put up your name, please listen, as you may hear your phone number being called out with someone asking you to identify yourself. Doing these things makes it much easier for those who are taking attendance so that we will know pretty quickly if there's a quorum for the meeting. You'll be muted as you join. If you wish to speak, you must unmute yourself. Once the meeting starts, please be sure you are muted so that any background distractions and people are also muted. Turning to the advance packet, you'll find it's divided into 3 sections: the docket with the agenda and committee reports, the worship bulletin, and flyers on upcoming events in the presbytery. The docket found on pages 1 and 2 of the advance packet sets forth the order in which business will be considered. The only exceptions to this will be when we come to items marked with asterisks. They are orders of the day and will be taken up at the time noted, even if it means we have to put something aside and come back to it. The meeting will be called to order at 9:30 a.m. by moderator Don Adamy. Following prayer, the stated clerk will announce whether a quorum is present. A quorum is 15% of our ministers of word and sacrament, or 16, and 15% of our churches represented by a ruling elder, or 18. Ruling elders who are attending a presbytery meeting for the first time as a commissioner from their church will then be introduced. We will then approve the docket as it's been shared, though on occasion there may be some additions to the docket by the time of the meeting. Approval of the consent agenda will then be recommended. You'll find a description of the consent agenda on the docket, but these are items that will be taken up in one motion without discussion unless anyone, asks that a particular item be removed so that it can be discussed later in the meeting. Items on the consent agenda for this meeting are the requests for excused absences for ministers and sessions, that the offering during worship be given to Presbyterian Disaster Assistance to support their response to the California wildfires. Next, the moderator will appoint temporary clerks who've been asked in advance to serve in this way to assist those who may be having issues with Zoom. The moderator will then appoint present members of the leadership team as the Committee on Bills and Overtures, which will review any new business that is proposed at this meeting. Please be aware that if you wish to submit an item of new business, it must be emailed to the stated clerk prior to the start of the Transitional General Presbyter's Report. At this point, we will move to examine Victoria Krebs for ordination as a minister of Word and Sacrament on the recommendation of the Vocations Committee. She has fulfilled all the ordination requirements and has received a call to serve a congregation in our presbytery. Because she met with the Vocations Committee and the Committee on Ministry last week after the packet was online, you'll find the recommendation for examination along with her statement of faith and biographical statement in the supplemental pack. The Vocations Committee will also be highlighting Presby Prep, the first year of the Authorized Lay Preacher Commission Pastor Preparation Program, as it makes plans for Presby Prep to begin in September 2025. Following the report of the Vocations Committee, we'll move into the educational focus for this meeting, which is the report of the leadership team regarding the report of the Bluestone Working Group. The Bluestone Working Group was appointed several years ago to develop a plan for Bluestone to function independently from the presbytery as it continues to provide a place for church camp for our youth and children. Following an initial presentation from the leadership team, all present will be divided into Zoom breakout rooms for small group conversation. These will be led by members of the leadership team and the Bluestone Working Group. On pages 12 to 27 in the packet, you will find the transitional plan for Bluestone Conference Center as proposed by the working group. Following that report, you will find the report of Run River Consultants and their reflections and recommendations regarding Bluestone on pages 28 to 53. Please be sure to read both of these in advance of the 20th and make notes of any questions you may have the opportunity to share and ask during the breakout rooms. Note that all you need to do to join a breakout room will be to click on Join when you see it. You will then automatically be returned to the larger group when the breakout room time is up. Following the educational focus, there'll be a time of announcements before we move into worship. You'll find the worship bulletin following page 82. As part of worship, we'll be celebrating the sacrament of the Lord's Supper, so I encourage you to have some bread and some juice of some sort available so that you can partake as we do so. We'll also be celebrating the saints as we lift up the names of ruling elders and minister members of the presbytery who died in 2024. You'll find the saints list on pages 80 and 81. At the end of the bulletin, you'll find some notes on the service, including where to send your offering and leadership in worship. After worship, we'll return to the business of the presbytery with the installation of John Bolt as moderator-elect and the installation of the 2025 current committee chairs. Next will be the report of the stated clerk. On page 5, you'll find her report with information regarding the roster of former members of the Permanent Judicial Commission of the Presbytery, session records reviews, and statistical reports. The deadline has passed for clerks of session to submit their church's statistical report, but if this hasn't been done, please contact Maureen Wright as she can add your report. Remember that your 2027 per capita will be based on the number of members you report in 2025. The recommendation there will likely have passed on the consent agenda. On page 6, you'll find some helpful information on procedural matters for our electronic meeting, particularly as some of these differ from when we're in person. However, as conducting meetings electronically has already been added to the Presbytery Manual, we will not be voting on what's on this page at this meeting. But here you'll find information about participants and needing to register in advance, accessing the meeting, establishing a quorum, seeking recognition, and submitting new business. Please note, if you get disconnected during this meeting and try to reconnect, we will make every effort to readmit you. Page 7 has procedural manners we will be following at this meeting. These include principles of parliamentary law that help us work and play well with others as we meet together. Courtesy to all, one item at a time, majority rule, respect the rights of the minority, justice for all, and partiality for none. As items are discussed, pro and con speakers will alternate with individuals identifying their position at the time. When one person has spoken on a pending question, all others wishing to speak will be heard before that person can speak a second time. Please note it takes special permission for someone to speak on the same question that is the same issue more than twice. Here you will also find provisions from the Presbytery's manual that guide us, including who has the ability to speak and who has the ability to speak and to vote. Please note that in the final section of the procedural rules, number 1 differs for this meeting. As noted above, those wishing to speak will do so by using the chat feature or the electronic hand feature. Once you're called on by the moderator, please share your name, your church, or your relationship to the presbytery. Address your question to the moderator, and you will be muted by the Zoom host when you finish. As part of the procedural rules, you'll find that the limitation for debating any motion is 30 minutes per main motion, with each speaker limited to 3 minutes per speech, although this has to be approved by 2/3 of those voting on the 20th. So, if there's an item that as you read you think you might want to speak to, I encourage you to write out your remarks to help keep you focused and within the 3-minute limit. Finally, on page 8, you will find information on motion basics as we follow Robert's Rules of Order parliamentary procedure. After the report of the stated clerk, there will be a 30-minute break, a good time to go get some lunch. After the break, Maureen will then report orally in her role as the temporary general presbyter. We will then move to the committee reports and the report of the leadership team. In these reports, you'll find recommendations that we'll be voting on at this meeting, as well as information on the ongoing work of the committee or the leadership team. Please note that any recommendations coming from a committee do not require a second. The leadership team report can be found on pages 9 and 10. You'll note they're bringing several recommendations. The first is that the report of the Bluestone Working Group be seen as on first reading, with a vote to be taken on the proposal at the May meeting. Their second recommendation is for the approval of the harassment policy, the fourth and final policy required of all councils of the PCUSA by our Constitution. This policy can be found on pages 53 to 55. Their next two recommendations are for the election of the lead presbyter and connectional presbyter search committees. These two positions were approved as part of the strategic plan adopted in November. As with all nominations, there will be time for nominations from the floor, though anyone who is nominated must have previously agreed to serve if elected. Their final recommendation is for members of a transitional nominating committee, which will be responsible for nominating committee chairs and members in the newly revised committee plan of the strategic plan. Again, nominations from the floor would be in order. The final plan of the leadership team report reflects their ongoing work, including the appointment of a communications coordinator search committee. It's expected that this committee will also search for the treasurer and business administrator. The need to incorporate as a presbytery is lifted up, and the upcoming call for a special meeting to be held on Tuesday, March 25th to consider amendments to the Constitution of the PCUSA from the 2026 General Assembly. The Committee on Representation nominates persons to serve in elected positions. They will be bringing nominations for several committee members to this meeting. As with all nominations, There'll be the opportunity to nominate others, but they must have agreed to serve if elected before being nominated. Good news from the pews will be an opportunity for people to have the opportunity to share something that is happening in their congregation that is good. We'll go back into breakout rooms as we do so. The hope that is in sharing, others might glean some ideas to take back to their sessions, to their congregations. Following this sharing of good news, the Stewardship Committee will report. You'll find their written report on page 56. You'll note there that 79% of the 2024 budget was spent, with only 75% of the anticipated restricted funds used. You'll also find here that the committee has provided grants to 10 churches to assist with medical dues for pastors who need family medical coverage with the Board of Pensions. They're also looking at accounts to maximize our funds and are working to find an auditor. Following the committee report, you'll find the 2024 financial reports, including budget versus actual on pages 57 to 60, and a statement of our financial position at the end of 2024 on pages 61 to 63. The next several pages report on shared mission benevolence giving and per capita payments for 2024. Those are on pages 64 to 66, and the same for 2025 on pages 67 to 70. The Bluestone Conference Center financial report as of December 31st, 2024 follows, and that is followed by the Friends of Bluestone financial report. Friends of Bluestone raises funds to support Bluestone's ministry. The Committee on Ministry does not have any recommendations to bring to this Presbytery meeting, but you'll find their report on pages 74 and 75 shares a great deal of information about their work in appointing moderators and liaisons, reviewing pastor compensation, approving commission pastor covenants, temporary supply covenants, commission pastor covenant renewals, and stated supply covenants. They also review commission pastor and session annual reports and have approved a member of another denomination as a temporary member with the authority to preside at communion and baptism. As part of today's meeting, we will be commissioning Susan Perry as the commission pastor at the Gilbert Presbyterian Church, and Rodrigo Almeida to serve as the commission pastor at Enslow Park in Huntington. You'll find that commissioning service, as I mentioned earlier, in the supplemental packet. You will want to be able to access that so you can follow along as we celebrate this commissioning. The Bluestone Committee report will be an oral report from David Kaufman, Committee Chair. You'll note that at the bottom of the docket, you'll find that several committees have submitted written reports only. You'll find the report of the Mission Committee and its information on hunger grants and mission grants awarded to congregations in our presbytery on page 76. The Nurture Committee report on page 77 lifts up information on upcoming events, including the Spring Youth Retreat, Presbyterian Youth Triennium, Youth Council applications, Festival of Faith, the Toolbox course on pastoral care with the dying and their loved ones, and scholarship and grant applications for post-secondary education. The Relations Committee report can be found on page 78. They are in the process of completing their work of reaching out to all of the churches in our presbytery that aren't in conversation with the Committee on Ministry by the end of June of this year. So please, if they've left a voicemail or if they've sent an email, please take the time to respond. You'll also find here information on cluster support grants for collaboration between congregations in our presbytery. Finally, the trustees report on page 79 gives an update on the sale of a church building and a New Life Grant Committee member. The final page of the report section of the packet is an evaluation form. It can be found on page 82. This will also be emailed to participants after the meeting is over. Please take some time to complete an evaluation. These assist the leadership team in planning future meetings, and they seek to hear so they can share the concerns of the presbytery with staff and/or committees as appropriate. But please note, if you're willing to volunteer to lead worship, or you'd like for Presbytery to help or be in touch with your congregation in a particular way, we need to know who you are. For the most part, we don't need your name, but if you would like for us to reach out or help or assist or hear, we need to know your name. Finally, following the worship bulletin, you'll come to the flyer section. Here you'll find information and how to register for a number of upcoming events in the Presbytery. Please, please share these with your session and congregation members who might be interested. Flyers for this meeting include the Toolbox course on pastoral care with the dying and their loved ones, a 3-hour course on Zoom on March 1st. The registration deadline is February 21st. Festival of Faith will take place on Saturday, March 22nd. We'll have both of the co-moderators of the General Assembly as our keynote presenters. Note the early bird registration deadline, time to reserve lunch and/or childcare is Monday, March 3rd. Presbyterian Youth Training for youth in grades 8 through 12 and young adults ages 19 to 23 will be held Monday, July 28th through July 31st in Louisville, Kentucky. Presbytery is planning to take a delegation to this event. The registration deadline is March 31st. The Guys Weekend at Bluestone will be April 25th through the 27th. Friendship is the theme of the Spring Youth Retreat for those in grades 6 through 12 on Sunday, April 27th. It will be held at Coonskin Park in Charleston, weather permitting. Otherwise, it will move to Breen Memorial Presbyterian Church. The registration deadline is Monday, April 14th. The Spring Getaway Retreat at Bluestone will be May 2nd through the 4th. You'll also find a flyer on summer camp at Bluestone Camp and Retreat. The final flyer is a little bit different. It lifts up the Christian Education Resources Survey that's being shared by Research Services on behalf of the Office of Christian Formation and the Presbyterian Publishing Curriculum Corporation. They are asking for your feedback on curriculum needs by the end of March. On that one, you'll find a QR code as well as a website. Following the report of the Bluestone Committee, the leadership team members present as the Bills and Overtures Committee will bring any recommendations on new business to the body. If there is no new business, the moderator will adjourn the meeting with the charge and benediction. But please don't think you're done with this meeting with the final amen or when you click out of the Zoom meeting. Your work continues as you share the work done at this meeting with your session and share the flyers with those who might be interested, and as you continue to pray for the work of the Presbytery, its congregations, its committees, and its staff. I look forward to seeing you on Zoom on Thursday, February 20th, when the Presbytery meets to discern what God is calling us to do in this time and place. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. You can reach me at Susan_Sharp_Campbell at hotmail.com. Thanks for watching.